The Fifth Dimension. Introduction. In our ordinary world, we have three directions of physical motion: X, Y, Z, and T. We also have the flow of time, T. All of these structures are a result of one primordial energy interacting with human consciousness to give us our experience. E equals mc squared is simply energy in our experience and does not include the energy of consciousness. In The Crystal of Time, we discover that habitable zones exist around the center of time, where our acceleration is equal to the speed of light. We learn that light state potentialities exist across all time. We see that these orbital distances relate to the density of an individual's experience. This direction of conscious density could be considered the fifth dimension of experience. It is the richness of your experience. As our accelerative magnifying lens orbits the center of all experience, we see our perception is split in two. Our consciousness, the easy user interface, makes reality friendly and easy to use. Let's now take one more step out and look at the bigger picture. We see conscious perception is layered in all aspects. We see space preparing in our direction. The future is being crunched into matter and the past stretched into light. Your world is literally split into two perceivable universes. The fractal nature of doubling shows that we may shift infinitely closer to perceiving the now, but may never achieve it. The now waking moment is literally one half past and one half future. Consciously, they become layered on top of each other to give us the smooth and easy experience we share. Through space preparation, we learn the true shape and nature of our reality. This warped geometry factor can then be applied to create structures that exist and interact with all of time. Space preparation and conscious crunching. What is matter and what is light? Are they not the same energy being perceived in two different ways, all created by a single motion? Let us now look more closely at the concept of space preparation in combination with conscious crunching. We know that habitable zones for human consciousness exist when we are accelerating at light speed. This allows human consciousness to properly harmonize with the natural flow of space-time to create an experience that consists of matter and light. Let's now look at an orbit through time and see how our accelerative reference frame warps a singular energy to create all experiences. The previous image shows a smooth field of a singular energy. The golden spot in the center would be the center of our orbit. The lens would represent our entire universe or experience. As our accelerative reference frame orbits the singularity of all time, it would create a warping factor based off time dilations and Lorentz contractions. This means that our perception is literally being stretched into existence as we orbit. This warping factor must be one that turns energy to light as well as energy to matter. It must also properly harmonize with human consciousness to create a steady state of manifesting reality. As we approach the now, in the future, you would see energy towards the center of time being crunched towards you and energy further from time being stretched away. This crunching of energy is what creates matter. The stretching of energy creates light. As we leave the now, in the past, you would see everything reverting back to its natural state. This means that the reverse effect would be happening. Energy that is towards the center of time would be stretching, creating light. Energy that is further from the center of time would be crunching, turning to matter. After the event has fully left our accelerative magnifying lens, it would be in its original state that existed before we began to perceive it. There really is no matter or light, it is only differentiated when perceived. So how big is our entire reality? Is our conscious experience not completely stretched by an accelerated factor of the speed of light? Has matter not been crunched to that same degree? There exists a flow before and after it is perceived. Size of experience. From time atom, we see that each one of our conscious harmonics relates to a certain orbital distance from the center of time. By knowing our acceleration is equal to the speed of light and using a equal to v squared over r, we are able to calculate both the distance and velocity of conscious energy that creates our wall of perception. The calculated diameter of the longest wave relating to 1.25 Hz is 1 times 10 to the 7 meters. The average of 2.5 Hz comes from using uniform divisions of 2 starting from our alpha state being centered at 10 Hz. The 2.5 Hz delta wave has a cloud diameter of 2.4 times 10 to the 6 meters. The diameter of the beta wave is 40,000 meters, and the fast gamma at 2,500 meters. Our waking state, the betaverse, is focused at 20,000 meters, 12.5 miles, away from the center of time. Then our warped geometry factor, which stems from our accelerated reference frame, must then be applied. The combination of the two give us a universe that is roughly 14 billion years old. This age we perceive is only that of our reference frame and the betaverse. In other frames of motion, for example, the deltaverse, the geometry would start at 5 times 10 to the 6 meters and have a crunch and stretch factor related to that field of flow. The noviverse direction would be considered an older or more mature universe, consisting of more complex structures and higher energies, while the lower verse would be considered younger and less dense, consisting of more simple structures. Complexity of experience. The easiest way to see the differences in densities of experience is to look at bits of information that may exist within our conscious antenna. The longer a waveform is, the less information it will emit per period of time. For example, a 1 Hz delta wave will only give you 1 bit of information per second. Meanwhile, an 80 Hz fast gamma wave would be able to give you 80 bits per second. This relationship is true for a linear perspective. However, we are considering all of time, and our creation is not linear. It exists within an accelerative bubble. Analyzing the magic sphere. The magic sphere is a great model to show the amounts of information relating to each conscious harmonic. By analyzing the relationship of diameters between orbitals, we see that each harmonic of higher density is 25% the diameter of the harmonic below. For example, for every 1 delta wave, 4 theta waves will fit across. When we rotate that relationship along x and y, we see that our 4 more bits of information has turned to 16 bits. When you make the 3-dimensional model, you end up with 64 bits of theta information per every 1 sphere of delta information. This implies that your conscious antenna is receiving or harmonizing with 64 more times the information for every layer of density it travels. For example, theta has 64 times the information than delta does. Alpha would have 64 times 64, which translates into 4,096 times more information than delta. This number continues by multiples of 64. Beta would relate to 64 cubed and have 262,144 times the information. Slow gamma would be near 17 million, and fast gamma near 1 billion bits of information for every 1 delta wave. Lights, shadows, and walls. How does this system work together to create the field of energy we experience? Like lights passing objects and casting shadows onto walls, our experience is formed. From the image, we see our now waking moment is created by 1/2 past and 1/2 future. As we approach, our matter is from the center of time and our light is from the outside. As we leave, our light is from the inside and our matter is from the outside. Our experience is an overlapping of the two. This shows that we receive both matter and light from the denser orbits of experience as well as the less dense, but the direction they are coming from is opposite. There is a layering or virtual wall of information that exists at all orbital distances. The layer of reality you experience relates directly to the harmonization of your conscious antenna, aka the magic sphere. A black hole. Where in the universe does consciousness form? The requirement for safe habitable zones is when the accelerative reference frame is one that causes energy to crunch to matter and energy to stretch to light. This only occurs when acceleration is equal to the speed of light. When we look out into the cosmos, there's only one place or structure where the acceleration of spacetime is equal to or greater than the speed of light. This occurs in black holes. You could say consciousness forms inside of black holes, and in every galactic center, we see a fractal of conscious experience, an entire universal experience existing. It is also possible that each individual atom undergoes this same experience as electrons are in a state of orbit similar to the energy orbiting a black hole. E is greater than mc squared. With our new perspective, let us look at the energy associated with matter throughout all of time, and not just the now moment or human experience. Let's go back to simple principles to show the potential energy of the entire system. For any physical system, it is possible to calculate the potential energy associated with gravitational and kinetic energy. The potential energy associated with height in relation to gravity is typically E equals mgh. The energy associated with the velocity of mass is E equal to 1/2 mv squared. By combining the two equations, you're able to calculate the energy of the system. E is equal to mgh plus 1/2 mv squared in relationship to gravity and motion. Let's now apply this simple calculation to our 5-dimensional model. We know for habitable zones that our acceleration will be equal to the speed of light. For this proof, we will make an assumption that the only perceivable experience is the betaverse, and only the now moment exist. This would make our tangential kinetic energy equal to 0. It is not even considered. This is our one and only experience, and we are not considering the energy associated with the orbit or flow of experience. We know that our acceleration g must be equal to the speed of light, c, in order to have energy crunching into matter and energy stretching into light. Therefore, we can say that our E equals mgh now relates to E equals mc squared when considering 5 dimensions. In a way, you could say that the energy in matter is related to the gravitational pull of time. Just a note, it may not be entirely accurate to say that E equals mc squared is the gravitational pull of time. However, it is accurate to say it is the energy of matter associated with our now moment. When you consider the energy of matter throughout all of time, the equation grows to E equals mc squared plus 1/2 mv squared. The total energy in a system may be infinite if you consider open systems versus closed systems. We know that our velocity v is locked into a certain radius based on the equation a equal to v squared over r. Therefore, we can say that our c equals v squared over r goes to v squared equals cr. This then goes to v equaling the square root of cr. We now have the equation for the total energy of matter throughout time. E equals mc squared plus 1/2 mcr. The first half of the equation comes from the gravitational pull of time, and the second half of the equation comes from our tangential velocity. There may be even more energy in the system of time when you consider other aspects, such as chemical reactions, of the 5th dimension. Energy of consciousness. If E equals mc squared relates to the energy of matter and light, then E equals 1/2 mcr would relate to the energy associated with conscious crunching. The energy of conscious crunching is one that allows time to flow from past to future. It is the energy that allows experiences to occur. When considering the mind, body, and spirit diagram, you could say that E equals mc squared is the energy associated with body. It is the energy associated with gravitational attraction, emotions well understood. E equal 1/2 mcr, the second half of the equation, would relate to the mind and spirit of the matter. It would be the energy associated with perceiving matter and constantly moving towards a future moment that includes paths of free will and choice. It would be the energy associated with the synchronization of the light state as a whole.